Hey, hi, hello. So this reading vlog is going to be slightly different than any other reading vlog I have previously done on my channel. And that is because I'm going to be reading 4 books that I have previously read and reread them with you all with my live reactions, and then 1 book that I haven't read already. So the 4 books that I am going to read are Shadow and Bone. Oh, these are kind of out of order. I'm gonna read Shadow and Bone first, and then Six of Crows, and then Crooked Kingdom, and then King of Scars, and then I'm going to wrap everything up with Rule of Wolves when it comes out. I don't have my copy yet, but it arrives on the 30th of March. This vlog is going to span over the course of a little bit more than a month. It's going to be about 5 weeks because I'm going to be trying to read one of these every single week, and then Rule of Wolves will have its own week. The reason why this video is starting is because, simply enough, I want to talk a lot about these books. I want to talk in depth with them. I'm really kind of making this video, to be honest, for myself, as like a fun way to react to these books as I'm reading them and to remind myself of everything that happens in them in time for Rule of Wolves, and then any books that come after. And then of course today, the day this video is getting released, not the day I'm filming, but the day the video is getting released, Shadow and Bone TV show is up on Amazon. No, go watch the TV show if you have Netflix, of course. The first one we're going to be starting with is Shadow and Bone. So I read Shadow and Bone 5 years ago now, which is crazy, and I read it in 1 day last time. So I picked it up today, and I was actually kind of nervous to start reading it. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what if it's not as good as I remember? What if the writing is really juvenile? Or what if it's just like I've changed but the book is the same? But I picked it up this afternoon and I am already 60 pages into it, and I got through those pages like nothing. Like, they flew by. Let's talk about what's happened up to these 60 pages, and then I'm going to sit down and do some reading for the next hour. And well, I'm going to be in and out for the hour, but I'm going to sit and read for at least an hour this evening in just this book. What we open up with is, of course, we have the reminder that Helena, I always get her name wrong. Elena and Mal are orphans, and they're raised in this orphanage together when they're kids. And then we get introduced to the idea that there's this fold that is like this dark cloud mass that they're like splits the country in two, and they're having to cross it for the first time, and both of them are really nervous and scared to do it, but they do it anyways. And while they're crossing, Mal gets attacked, and while he's being attacked, Elena protects him and finds out that she's a Grisha. So I've already met the Darkling. She is being rushed, she being Elena, is being rushed to the palace to be protected right now. So we're learning a lot about the world and the culture and the world building still, and I just can't wait, because I know that once she gets to the palace, we kind of have one of my favorite tropes, which is like poor person having to be with royalty, or having to pretend to be royalty, or having to like do the customs of royalty. And I just really love that. I also really love the Darkling. I don't think Elena should have ended up with him. Not at all. He's a horrible person. But I also don't think she should have ended up with Mal, which, like, fair enough. I think he's awful too. But I really like him, and whenever he's in the book or in any of the books that I'm going to be reading, I freaking freak out. And I pretty much just fangirl with him on page. You're definitely gonna get to see some of that this time. I also really love Ben Barnes. I have a little bit of a crush on him, or at least I did when I was a small child. You know, now I just have the residual effect of what that was to have a crush on some, like, a celebrity when you were a kid, and now you see that celebrity again. You know, it's not the same as like just any other person. I am excited to see him play the Darkling, and I think that they picked an interesting person, honestly, now that I've reread the part where they describe the Darkling. Okay, so this is the part where Alina first meets him, and she says, "I stared, torn between fear and fascination. He's too young, I thought. This Darkling had been commanding the Grisha since before I was born, but the man seated above me on the dais didn't look much older than I did. He had a sharp, beautiful face, a shock of thick black hair, and clear gray eyes that glimmered like quartz." I think Ben Barnes has brown eyes. I also wouldn't describe him as like sharp features, or as having black hair. And from the clips I've seen, I'm pretty sure it's just dark brown. I also think it was interesting because Mal, I don't have the exact part referenced, but Mal was described as this like very breathtakingly beautiful, like people stop in the streets and stare at him attractive man. And I can't remember who's acting as Mal in the TV show, but I wouldn't describe him like that. I mean, he's definitely an attractive man, but he's not the kind of man that like if I saw him in public, I would stop and stare at him. I mean, I don't stop and stare at many people, to be honest, at least not if they don't have a cool tattoo. But the actor just doesn't strike me as like, oh my goodness, like this is the man. I've also met Zoya, but it's been very brief, and Zoya doesn't take a huge role in this book like she does in some of the later ones. So Shadow and Bone, the first time I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So I'm definitely curious to reread it now and see what my rating will be. Okay, so I just got to the part where Elena is traveling on the road to get to the palace, and she gets attacked by the Freudians. How do you say it? Yeah. And the Darkling comes along and saves her. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see that kind of stuff in the book, because he literally cuts a man in half with like whatever his ability is. And so there's like a line like here across this man's body, right? And I think I heard online that the Netflix TV show is going to be like 16 plus, and it's going to be marked as like really dark. And I hope that it actually is, because scenes like that could be done really cool and really well in a TV show. The show definitely has the grittiness. Just from like watching the trailer, you can see that it's going to be like aesthetically dark, but I hope that they keep some of that like blood and gore in it as well. Also, like I said, any scene with the Darkling makes me happy, so I am really excited about reading that one, and I know that now he's going to be in it a little bit more, although he's never in it as much as I want him to be in it. Okay, I'm about to say a spoiler for the end of book 3 of this book, so in case you don't want to hear that, turn away until I put this book down. So the Darkling just talked to Elena about the fact that if you are a Grisha, you live longer than normal humans because your power strengthens you, and that if you have an amplifier, that you live even longer than that. So that means that at the end of book 3, when Elena and Mal run off together, you know, Mal's gonna hit like 70, 80 years old and then die. And Elena is such a powerful Grisha, plus she has those amplifiers, that like she's gonna live a lot longer. So that kind of makes me happy, because I don't like them together. So I enjoy the idea that she's gonna continue to live without him one day. Also, I'm hecka scared that she's gonna show up in Rule of Wolves, so you know. Hi, I've gotten ready for bed. I've switched to reading in bed, and I have just met Genya, which is she's such a great character and I love her. And yeah, I just needed to come and tell you that. So I just got to the part where Elena's caftan is being created for the first time, and the Darkling like says in passing like, okay, she's going to be wearing black because that's his color, and then Elena, not realizing quite so much the reason why she's doing it, says that she wants blue. She realizes why she's saying it, but she doesn't realize the repercussions of what she is saying. She doesn't realize that by denying her connection with the Darkling, that she is basically like spitting in his face. I don't know. I always have remembered this scene. There's like a few scenes from this book that I like vividly remember in my head, and this is one of them. And the reason why I remember it is because at the time of me reading it the first time, I was going through the phase where I like only wore black, and I was like outraged at Elena for not wanting to wear black, not because she was rejecting the Darkling or anything like that, but simply because black is the best color, and I wouldn't understand why anyone would want to wear another color besides it. I say as I wear black. So I've just met Bagra, or as I always think of her in my head, Babushka. I don't know where exactly that came from, except that like they both start with a B, and I think of her kind of as a grandma, but anyways, I've just met her, which means that I know that the next few chapters are going to be kind of slow because Elena is going to be starting her training, and the first time I read it, I remember being kind of like, okay, like, come on, let's get going. Pretty soon, I do remember Zoya is going to become a bigger part in this book, but I really don't think she's super important until the later books. Hey, hi, different day, same book. So I am doing some more reading of Shadow and Bone tonight. It's been a little bit, I've kind of had a hectic week, but I'm finally about to knock this out this weekend. I have like 200 pages left, I think. So I was just doing some reading in it. And right now, Alina is doing the part where she's like researching about Grisha and trying to find out about them and figure out like how their powers work. And one of the things she said was that all Grisha have the ability to control matter at its like core elements. And so Grisha, who can control fire, don't actually control fire. They control elements that are combustible, and then they use like a spark like in their coats to light those elements on fire, and then it looks like, hey, you're controlling fire because you're controlling the elements that are being burned, right? So my question is, Alina controls light. Last time I checked, light is not matter. Light is wavelengths, energy. What? Okay, I'm basically reading in the dark, so it's hard for you to see me now. But I just got to the line where the Darkling said, "You and I are going to change the world," which is the line from the trailer that like haunts you in your sleep. And I'm just like, oh my God. I also, earlier, I forgot to mention, I did read the line where the Darkling, well, it wasn't actually the Darkling that asked her. I think it was Ivan who asked her, "What are you?" And she said, "I'm a map maker." That's in the trailer too, and it's really good. And there's like a few other lines that I've read that are directly from the trailer, and it makes me super happy because that means that in the TV show, like, they're going to stick pretty closely to the book. So I just got to the part in the book where the Darkling kisses Alina for the first time, and there's like this whole entire section in the middle of the book where he's kind of romancing her, and you don't totally know about him yet, and I just really love it. I don't ship Alina and the Darkling, and I really don't ship her with Mal, but I definitely get like squealy when I read these parts and excited. And even though I know that he is not what he seems and that he should not be with her in any sense of the word, these parts still make me really happy. So I got to my favorite scene in the book. This is honestly one of the absolutely few books where I have a favorite scene in it that is a relationship scene, you know, like a make out in the hallway scene. I usually don't go for those, but in this one, there's something absolutely magical about leaving a crowded party and going to a dark, deserted hallway and being pushed up against a wall. I'm gonna read it now, not out loud to you. I'm gonna read it and you can watch me react to it. It probably won't be much. I'm not a huge reactor, honestly. There's the line. The problem with wanting is that it makes us weak. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. It's literally 2 pages, but I have remembered this scene since the first time I read the book. It stuck with me really well. I forgot that in the same very chapter that she has that moment with the Darkling, Mal shows up at the palace. I knew he was coming pretty soon, but I thought it was the next chapter. I didn't think it was the end of this one. It's time for me to be disappointed the rest of this book. So I finally made it to the part in the book where I keep calling her that, Alina is leaving the palace, and pretty much I have 110 pages left approximately, so pretty much the rest of this book is not my favorite. I like really don't care for the ending when her and Mal are like traveling in the woods together and doing their thing and basically just falling in love with each other. I just really feel like he kind of belittles her by being like, "I've always been in love with you, even though I've been with all these other women and I could have chosen you this whole entire time. Now that you're beautiful and powerful and doing your thing, I'm gonna confess my love to you." I don't love that. It's the Peter Malark mentality and it sickens me. I don't mind the ending, of course, when, you know, the Darkling shows back up and everything goes to shit, but there's just this period of time where it's just the two of them and they're kind of walking through the woods trying to find something, and I don't love it. So I do have the audiobook and I might switch over to that while I'm doing that section, but honestly, it's been such a quick read to get through all this. I might try to continue and see how it feels. I don't know. I finished. I didn't expect to read all of this tonight. I honestly set out today to read 100 pages today and 100 pages tomorrow, but once I like got back into this book again, I kind of took a few days off because I've just been overwhelmed with work and some personal stuff. but as soon as I picked the book back up again, I was once again transported into this world, and it's such an easy read. Like you fly through it. It's so quick and for the most part enjoyable. I did really enjoy my reread of this. It got me more excited for things to come. I will not be rereading Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising, at least not anytime soon. I don't want to say never, but most likely I will never reread those. But I liked this a lot. I did have some issues with it, more than I had the first time, but not as many as I thought I was going to have, to be completely honest. The first time I rated the book 4.5 out of 5 stars, and the second time I'm rating it 4 out of 5 stars. So that's really not a big change, honestly. I would like to say one thing before we move on to the next book, and that is that I did make a mistake with Mal's intentions. So he does say when he like re-meets up with oh my god, I keep saying her name wrong, Alina, that he didn't always love her, that seeing her being taken away from him made him realize that he loved her. It's not much better, but I would like to say that earlier I was wrong when I said that he had been like, oh, I've always loved you. So he doesn't quite have Peeta Mellark. He's more of Gale Hawthorne, you know? I mean, he still French chased me, and I still feel like he's kind of like, oh, powerful, strong woman. Let me come and like her now that she's like living her best life. Let me ruin it. But it is what it is. I did a lot of updates for this book, and before I move into the next books, I would like to say that odds are I won't be doing as many updates for those ones because I have reread most of them, / I've read them rather recently. So when I get to Rule of Wolves, maybe I'll do some like consistent updates like I did with this one. Just don't be shocked if when I read Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom, and King of Scars, if I don't update quite as much as I did for Shadow and Bone. But also don't be shocked if I update just as much, because like I'm all over the place. It's time to reread one of my favorite books ever. I've got to look up on Goodreads to see if this is my third or if this is my fourth time reading this book, because I've read it a few times, but I don't remember right now which one it is. So I'm going to try to read this over the course of a week. I'm finally taking the dust jacket off. I'm super weird, and I don't often take dust jackets off of hardbacks when I'm reading them because like they're there to protect it, but I just felt like this time I just kind of wanted to. So I wanted to talk to you before I started this book because I want to talk about the first chapter. So the first chapter is kind of read like a prologue in this book. It's this different character's POV, and he kind of like watches something happen, and then you get into the main characters and you never see this first character again. And I really like how Leigh Bardugo has set up this book and Crooked Kingdom, where the first chapter and the last chapter of both books are not a main character's POV, and they are characters that were never brought into again. And I just really like this kind of mirrored image, this cyclical feel of the books, and how it takes you almost from this story to this type of story in just a simple chapter. Because most of Six of Crows is we're looking at this heist between these 6 main characters, but by allowing the first and last chapters to be these other characters, it allows the world to be expanded. And I just think it's done so well. It's such a simple little thing. It's so effective. I myself have never once in a book stopped and looked at a map. I think they're beautiful. I have friends who that's what they do for a living, is they paint and draw maps for books, and I think they're absolutely fantastic, but I have never bothered to stop and look at one. I haven't really talked about the plots of any of these books. I feel like at this point, like if you've read these books, if you're coming into this video, you already know the plots of them, so I'm not gonna do that. I am hoping to read this over the course of a week and not actually like consume it in 2 days like I did with Shadow and Bone, even though like I did it a week apart. I read the book all in 2 days. So that was crazy. Can we just talk about how much I love this book? I'm at page 80, which black book with black sprayed edges is kind of hard to show off, isn't it? I'm at page 80. I didn't mean to read this much in like one sitting, but it's just one of these books that like pulls you in and grasps you, and you don't want to sit down and you don't want to stop reading. But I need to stop now because I need to meal prep, and I like to do it while it's still daylight out. So far we've had some great scenes. We have the scene that like first introduces you to Kaz, where he like is doing that deal interrogation with someone, and the person that he brings in is like a double crosser, so he gets him shot and then he gets the other guys to lose all their money, and he walks away completely fine. And it's such a good scene, and it's such a good opening scene, and it's great because you get like that, and then you don't really have much until the breakout from the prison, which isn't happening yet, so I don't think I'm gonna make it to the scene where they're on the boat. And then like you have that, and then it's like nice little pockets of like heistiness along the way until you get to the big one at the end, and it's just so enjoyable. I also absolutely love the scene where Inej and Kaz are in his office together and he just starts bathing in front of her, and I'm a simple woman, you know, I know what I like, and it's that scene. I have officially met Nina, which is really great. She is the next chapter that I will be reading from, so I'm really excited to get to know her, because I would have to say that out of all the characters, my favorite is Kaz. And then I absolutely love Inej. I love her so much. And then for third place, I kind of struggle between it being either Jesper or Nina. Like, I love both of them pretty equally, and it's hard for me to choose which one gets that third place slot and which one gets fourth place. And then it's Waylon. And then in way last place, it's Matthias. Like, I like Waylon. I do like him a lot. He only got fifth place because everyone else for me is so much better. And then Matthias, I can't stand, and I really don't like him. I'm hoping this time, now that I'm a little bit older and reading it, I might not hate him so much, but we'll see. Honestly, I wasn't upset at the end of Crooked Kingdoms. I just made it to part 2. I don't really have anything to say other than I just made it to part 2. I have gone completely horizontal on the floor, so I don't know how much more reading I'm going to do tonight, but I just got to the line where Matthias meets Waylon for the first time, and he says, "Of course he's new. He looks like he's about 12, retorted Matthias. "I'm 16, said Waylon sullenly, and it just reminds me of the Vine of the girl where the people are like, "Oh, you look like you're 9," and she's like, "Actually, I'm 11. Like, Waylon, calm down. You're a baby, no matter what. So yeah, I'm kind of falling asleep here. So I'm at page 120, which is pretty great. They have all started discussing plans. I'm about to hit my first Jesper chapter, which is exciting. Yeah, I think after this, there's probably a few chapters where they discuss things and get things ready, and then boat maybe. Okay, so I've done a lot of reading today. I am 1 chapter away from part 4, which puts me at page 234, but I'm too tired tonight to finish this section. So even though I only have 20 more pages until part 4, I'm just gonna stop here. A lot has happened. I mean, I read 110 pages today, so a lot should have happened, but a lot of like really good moments where I was just gushing and emotional and excited. We got to know a lot of people's backstories, so I know a little bit about Jesper, barely anything, just a little bit. I know a lot more about Inej, a lot more about Kaz, a lot more about Nina and Matthias. Nothing about Waylon yet. I don't know everything about Kaz, and I don't think I know everything about Nina and Matthias, but I know pretty much everything about Inej. There's not a ton more that I need to learn about her, that at least I remember that I need to learn about her backstory. But there have just been so many good moments. So where I'm at now, I did pass the boat scene. So we are trekking through the wilderness. I think I have one more chapter of said trekking through wilderness, and then they're going to be at the ice palace thing, whatever you call it. I'm really excited. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really loving this reread. This is such a good book. I'm glad I'm able to reread it right now. Honestly, like, it's so enjoyable, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. It's so easy to read, and so the characters are well fleshed out, the world is well fleshed out, everything is just great. And I don't want to sit here and harp on it too long because so many people talk about how great this book is. I don't need to be another one of them, but it's great to return to this world, and I'm glad I did it because I haven't reread this book in a little bit. It's been a few years at this point, and it makes me want to add it to the list of books that I reread more often. I have a few books on my list that I reread every single year, and I think that would be a bit much for this one, even though I enjoy this one more than some of those, just because of how long this one is. I'm here in the book. I'm over halfway. I have less than 200 pages left. Where I'm at, they have officially gone into the prison caravan wagon thing, and Kaz is having his little freak out, which means we're about to know more about his past. And is it getting dark, or is that my camera not adjusting well? I'm so excited because basically the rest of this book is like really action-packed and really fast-paced, so there's always the chance that I just keep reading tonight. Okay, so I just sprinted for an hour straight and I made it to page 330, which means I have 130 pages left. I'm gonna take a break right now because it is 7:35. I'm gonna shower, I'm gonna do my dinner dishes, and then I think I'm gonna try and sit and do another hour sprint, which will hopefully put me a really good distance through this book. But where I'm at, they are out of the prison cells. They are just about to sneak into the ice courts. So Nina and Inej are about to dress up as the women. I don't know the nice word for it, but prostitutes. I think it's stripper. I think that's the nice word for it. Nice word isn't the right word. Anyways, so I'm making really good progress and I'm really excited, and oh my god, reading Kaz's backstory every single time gets me. Like, I know what it is, I know his story, and it still makes me almost cry every single time. So that was a really emotional scene for me. And then I got to know a little bit more about Inej, and that was also just, and we finally found out Jasper's big secret. So, I mean, I'm spoiling everything in this, so I don't know why I'm hiding like some things from you. But yeah, we found out that Jasper is a fabricator, so that's exciting because I don't think there's many more big secrets to be revealed. Well, Waylon's secret still hasn't been revealed. Okay, so it's actually 8:40. I have not finished the book, but I am getting a headache. And I would normally push through, but recently I've just not been feeling great, and I've been getting more and more headaches, and I'm trying to keep them from turning into migraines all the time. So I think I'm gonna stop where I'm at. I did make it to page 360, which means I read 120 pages today, which is really funny because I read 120 pages the other day and 120 pages the day before that. So I don't know why I keep reading 120 page sections, but it also means I only have 100 pages left. So I think I can accomplish that tomorrow, even with all the traveling I'm going to be doing. I'm gonna try to remember to take my book on lunch. I keep forgetting to take my books on lunch for whatever reason. But I'm at the part now, so we've broken off into duos. So Matthias and Kaz are together and they're dressed up as guards, and Nina and Inej were together. They've gotten split up though, and Nina is with Jarl Barm, is that his name? I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. And he's gonna take her basically to not good places. And then Waylon and Jasper are together and they're like blowing things up. So it's good, it's exciting, things are on their way. I'm just about to find, oh, what's the guy's name? Boyal something. I don't remember the second part of his last name. They're just about to find him. I know Nina is like a chapter or two away from finding him, so that means that I don't have much more. I mean, I have 100 pages more, so really all that's left that I can remember of is we gotta find out about Waylon. Nina has to take the Param. They've got to escape, of course, after finding the dude, and then they have to sail back, which I think is not very long at all, and then Inej needs to be captured. So give each of those things like 20 pages, and now I've got the rest of this book. Welcome back to Next to My Bed. So the other night I did manage to finish Six of Crows. Not the night that I said I was gonna finish it. I finished it on Saturday night, and I freaking love this book. I wish that there's something about this book, it's not as easy to read as some other YA fantasies. Like, I don't get through it as quick as I do other YA fantasies. I love it though, and I wish that I could get through it quicker so that I could read it more often, because it's such a good, enjoyable book. I rated it 5 stars. I'm not shocked by that. I've always rated it 5 stars every single time I've read it, and it's just such a good, enjoyable book. I'm not gonna sit here and talk about this anymore because, like, I think we all know at this point, like, I love this book. I am about to pick up Crooked Kingdom now. So Crooked Kingdom takes place right after Six of Crows, and it kind of continues on. One of the reasons why I like Crooked Kingdom, I like it a lot. I think I've rated it 5 stars every single time I've read it, but it's not quite the same as Six of Crows in my mind. And I think part of the reason why is because the heist isn't like the main focus of the whole entire book, and the heist is kind of broken into a few different heist. So you have the first one, which is like, let's get Inej back, and then the second one, which is like, let's get our money back. It's not quite the same. It's not quite as good as Six of Crows. I feel like most people who have read this duology would agree. And if you don't, you know what, fair, that's your decision. You're allowed to have that one. But I think a lot of people would agree that even if they really like Crooked Kingdom, like, I really love this book a lot, it's not the same. I am excited to pick it up. I'm not sure at this point if I'm going to read it physically or with my audiobook because I do have both methods. I just know that I'm going to be reading it this week, and I have to finish it by this coming Saturday because I need to give King of Scars a few days to read so that I can have it done in time for Rule of Wolves. Okay, so I finally have started Crooked Kingdom. I'll turn my AC down a little bit. I'm really hot, so it's up high, but I don't have it with me because I did decide finally to just listen to it and not physically read any of it because I mostly just need to get through this one quickly. And this is one of the ones that I'm not super worried about forgetting a lot of the details because I've read it a few times, right? So I just finished chapter 10, which means that I'm just about to start part 3. So where I'm at, Inej has been rescued, and there's kind of some weird stuff happening. There's some weird Grisha that they're not totally sure about, and they're about to like wreck some people's lives, which is really exciting. Basically the first half of this book I don't like as much as the second half of the book, so I'm finally getting to the point now that Inej is with them all again where I start to enjoy the book a lot more. I also noticed this time reading the book, this is something I've never noticed before, but when I read Six of Crows, a majority of the chapters were either Inej or Kaz. And I kind of was keeping like a little tracker, I don't have it with me of course, of who all had like how many chapters every single character had, and it was majority of them. And in this book, I'm noticing so far, Inej has had 2 chapters and Kaz has had 1. It's been a lot of Matthias. Waylon had his first chapter. He doesn't have any chapters in book 1. Jesper has a bunch of chapters and Nina has a bunch of chapters. And I think partially why I don't like this book as much is because I'm not getting as much of my favorite characters. Like, while I still like Nina and Jesper, I would prefer Kaz and Inej, and I really don't care about Matthias. And every single time he has a chapter, I'm just like, can I like skip this? I'm not really sure I want to read any of it right now. But I'm enjoying myself. I think I'm going to try to push through and finish this in 2 to 3 days. I have 6 hours left at the time I'm like the speed I'm listening to it on. I've had kind of extremely anxious day today, and honestly, it's been total crap. But I did finish Crooked Kingdom, and I wanted to come and talk to you all about it before I kind of like forgot all my thoughts that I wanted to say. So if I seem kind of out of it, it's just because I had a really weird day, but I'm gonna be fine. Like, we're moving on. So I finished Crooked Kingdom. I think the audiobook was the wrong way to go with this one. I didn't like any of the narrators. First off, I thought that they all did a really bad job of doing Kaz's voice, and maybe it's because I've read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom so many times that I have such a strong opinion in my head of what each person's voice should sound like. But even all of the narrators, when they were doing their own voices, the only person who I didn't absolutely hate was Inej. I think that Waylon's was like monotone and unemotional and robotic, and that is not Waylon. He's full of emotion and life and love. And then Matthias's was like so deep and old, and he sounded like an old man, and I was like, the dude's 19. Like, yeah, he's older than everyone else, but he is not ready to die. And then Kaz's just wasn't what I heard in my head for Kaz. And then Nina, nothing was wrong with the woman's voice, but it's the same narrator who does all of Throne of Glass. So like, all I could picture was Selena Sardothien, and I was like, yo, dude, this isn't Nina. This isn't Nina. Jesper wasn't horrible either, I guess I should say. I just didn't love him either. So I think my biggest issue was the fact that I listened to the book through audio format, because I love the book. I love it. The last 2 times I read it, I rated it 5 stars. But this time I was like dreading reading it, and I was honestly just like pushing myself through and forcing myself to read it every single minute of the book. And I hate feeling that way. So I'm not going to change my rating on this book, because I truly think that my poor experience with it this time was because of the audiobook. I think that if I had read it physically, I would have loved it just as much as the first time. I'm just so busy right now, I couldn't sit down and read the physical book, and I'm really sad that that happened, because I love this book and I don't want to think about it poorly. So yeah, I'm leaving my rating the same. I'm not touching it. I'm not gonna like say anything about it. If I like read it again in the future and I feel the same way, then well, heck, something's wrong. There were certain points where I was kind of ready for us to be done with character development because this book is a lot longer than Six of Crows, and I felt like we developed the characters really well in Six of Crows, and I felt like in this one there were certain characters that I was enjoying. Like Waylon's development I thought was really good and done well, and even Jesper's was done well. But I honestly felt like the other four we had developed so well in the first book. I can't believe I'm saying this. I love Kaz and Inez. I can't believe I'm saying this. But I felt like we had developed them so well in the first book that I didn't need to learn new developments about them. I guess there were a few things about Inez that I was like, yeah, okay, that's cool. But for the most part, I was like, come on, let's just like get to it. Like, let's develop, like, let's do something. I don't know. I'm having a hard time here, dudes. I'm leaving the rating the same because I told you already. I'm struggling. Can you tell that I'm struggling? It's been one of those days. Okay, so I've officially started King of Scars. I am one chapter in, so I've made like no progress at all. I wanted to say really quickly, I do fully apologize for the last clip that you just watched. I was going through something, and I still kind of am going through something. March has been a really weird month for me, so I'm kind of being loosey-goosey with my ratings, especially on rereads, because I know that a lot of what I'm feeling right now is me. I am starting King of Scars as of today. If I include today, I have 9 days until Rule of Wolves comes out. It comes out in 10 days. So I have 9 full days to read this, which is gonna be no problem for me. Okay, we're taking the dust jacket off, which is gonna be no problem for me because I think this book is like 500 and something pages, 510 pages. Also, I did decide to get the audiobook. I'm going to listen and read at the same time, and I think that might help me, especially with some of the focusing issues I've been having recently. This kind of just happens sometimes and I just have to deal with it. I'm 1 chapter in. The first chapter of King of Scars is the same as Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, where the very first chapter is told from the perspective of someone who's not important to the story and really isn't seen for the rest of the story. And it's from this like little kid who finds this monster in his barn. And if you've read the rest of the book, which I would assume you have because I'm gonna be spoiling things about this book, like get ready, because when I get to that last page, I'm gonna be spoiling that last page. It's a big spoiler, but yeah, it's coming. If you've read the rest of the book, you know that that monster in his barn is Nikolai, the king of the realm. Who is the last chapter in this book? I don't remember. Isaac, that's right. No. The last chapter is Zoya. Okay. I remember a lot about this book just because I've read it the most recently out of any of these books. I read it my senior year of college. That was 2019-ish. I think this came out in the spring, so it was the spring of 2019. So it's probably been 2 years since I've read this book. I really liked it the first time. I rated it 4.75 stars. I remember pretty much everything that happens in it, which is why I think I picked up the audiobook. I have a hard time rereading books where I remember every single detail that's happening in them, but I still want to read this bad boy, especially because I know there are going to be like small details that I forgot. And with Rule of Wolves coming out and the TV show coming out and me wanting to reread all the other ones, it just made sense, you know? It just made sense. So I'm starting on this bad boy today, and I'll let you know how it kind of goes. Okay, so I finished my reread of King of Scars. I actually ended up kind of skimming parts of it just because I felt like this time I wasn't reading the book for content. I was reading it for memory. Like I needed to remember what was happening, and I needed to remember the details to going into Rule of Wolves, and I just have so much that I need to get read this month that it's not that I wasn't enjoying the book, it's not that I didn't want to like read it in full, and I did read it in full. I know all the details that happened. It was just that I used it more as a reminder, a refresher. I absolutely love the ending of King of Scars. I know that some people are upset about it because it does kind of undo a lot of what Leigh Bardugo did in Shadow and Bone, but I'm not one to complain because my boy is back, and I'm not gonna say who or what or where or when, but I'm excited, and it brings me great joy to know that he's here. It also means that I'm pretty sure some characters from some other places are going to be making an appearance in Rule of Wolves. And I don't know why I'm being so suspicious. I know I'm being so suspicious. I know people are going to be watching this vlog who have not read this book, and I don't want them to be spoiled by it. But I'm pretty sure some of the gang from Six of Crows is also going to show up into Rule of Wolves, which I'm going to be talking about Rule of Wolves real shortly because I don't really have anything else to say about King of Stars. The first time I read it, I rated it a 4.75 because while the story is really good and I really enjoyed it, it's very slow, and I'm just not always the biggest fan of slow, but I did really enjoy the slowness of this book because I felt like it was appropriate for everything that was going on. I mean, we've just had the end of Crooked Kingdom where one of our main characters has died, and we're dealing with the destruction of a whole nation and the destruction of a family and Nikolai coming into power, but also having these demons that are controlling him. So I felt like the slowness fit the book. It just so happens that right now I am like slumping hard, and I just felt like reading a slow book wasn't the best for my mentality. So I think I'm gonna leave, I'm typing it on Goodreads right now, I think I'm going to leave my rating exactly the same. It's kind of similar to how I was feeling at the end of Crooked Kingdom, where I was like, if I were rating this for the first time right now, I probably wouldn't rate it this high, but I know that I'm kind of in a funk right now, and I know that the book deserves it, and I know that at one point in my life I did believe that it deserved this, so I'm leaving it. Oh my goodness, I almost read this exactly the same days, but 2 years apart. I'm like 3 days off. That's crazy. Well, it's probably because this is when it came out, and that's when Rule of Wolves is coming out. Oh my god, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Okay, so where I live, normally we don't get packages until like after dinner time, sometimes even later than that, like 9 p.m., right? But I just got home from work. Hot damn. I have an Amazon package, which means that it's only one thing because it can only be one thing. I need to stop shaking it. Shit, I don't know how to set you guys up for this. I love hyperventilating here. I mean, we all know what it is. It's Rule of Wolves, but I'm excited because I wasn't expecting it to be here. And now I can sit on the couch and read it and just read it tonight. And oh my god, it's so pretty. Oh my god. It's thick. Oh my god. This book is thick. This is so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. 588 pages. The marble on the inside, that's so pretty. And I'm pretty sure that I saw online that that's right, the Naked book is one of the prettiest books ever. Oh my god. I'm going to stop hyperventilating. I'm gonna take some deep breaths. I'm gonna unpack my stuff from work, and then I'm going to sit down and read. I'm gonna read this for a while. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, so I've been doing some reading. I had to pause to like make dinner and go for a walk and stuff, but I've been mostly reading all of today because that's what I wanted to do today. So I am at page, I'm trying to show you, 50. So I am about to start chapter 5. So Leigh Bardugo did the same thing with this book that she's done with, I believe, all of her books at this point. I don't think she did in Shadowbone actually, but she did in Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom, and King of Scars, which is the very first chapter is an unrelated character. And funnily enough, I saw someone on Instagram the other day complaining about this and like specifically calling out Leigh Bardugo, but I really like it. I think it's a fun touch and a fun spin and a cool way to put you into the story without having you like get all of this information right away from the book. But I understand it's kind of personal taste, so whatever. So where I am at, I have not had a Zoya chapter yet, but I've had 2 Ninas, the random person, and 1 Nikolai, and I'm about to have Zoya right now. The story's still kind of setting up, although I feel like my last Nina chapter was really kind of like getting me into her part and getting me acclimated to what's actually going on with her. So like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything big, but I am gonna kind of tell you stuff up to the first 50 pages. So if you don't want to know anything, turn away, but I won't be spoiling any of the big stuff, right? So where I'm at, Nikolai and Zoya are traveling together across the countryside because there's this big like dust storm that has come across the lands and is basically wiping out crops and people and wildlife and like cattle and stuff. So anything that is touched by this like desert sand smoke thing is killed, and the land is completely left barren and everything is kind of turned gray. So they are traveling to one of these sites to kind of talk with the people and see what's going on. They are talking about some of their prisoners that they captured at the very end of King of Scars. If you know the end of King of Scars, there are 2 prisoners taken, and I won't say who they are, but they kind of mentioned those people and mentioned what they're going to be doing with those people when they get back to the palace. With Nina, she is traveling with Hana again, and Hana's father, who I won't be saying who he is, but he's very important to the story. And she's kind of taken on the role as, I don't want to say nursemaid because Hana is like an adult woman. I think Hana's like 17, 18, 19, but she's kind of like the girl's chaperone. And so she's traveling with the family. They're at the ice palace, they're at like the court, and just now, so she is disguised, and she has been disguised by Grisha, so she looks nothing like herself, of course, but someone just recognized her. So I'm really excited to see where that goes, and I'm really excited to pick up Zoya's chapter next. So far, I'm enjoying it. I don't have anything really negative or positive to say. It's all just kind of getting me into the story so far. It's moving a lot faster than King of Scars moved, which is great. I really needed that after that book. Not that King of Scars is bad, and I feel like it was really appropriate paced for like all of the grief that needed to be dealt with in that book, but I was definitely ready for this book to have like more going on with it. Full stop. So Zoya just got asked out by a man, and this was the greatest response that she could ever give him. So she was basically like, I think I know what you're thinking this is going to be. You think you're going to take me out to dinner. We'll both drink too much wine. You'll get me to talk about myself, the pressures of my position, the sadness of my past. Perhaps I'll shed a tear or two. You'll listen sensitively and astutely and somehow discover my secret self. And the man was like, yes, of course, that's exactly what I want. And then she said, there is no secret self. I'm not going to reveal another me to you. I am not going to be tamed by you. Oh my God. I mean, she goes on to say a few more things, but that line is just beautiful, and I had to come and tell you about it. So from King of Scars, I made a few predictions about some of our characters and who they were going to be as characters in Rule of Wolves. And I've had the first hints that I might be wrong with what I was thinking, and I've never been more excited. Let me start off by talking about Zoya and Nikolai, because they're less exciting at the moment. They're just kind of traveling together. They did this like battle scene, they finished it, and now they're finally back at the little palace. Is it called the little palace in this book? So they are interacting with their 2 prisoners. They haven't interacted with the one I really want them to interact with yet. He has not been a part of this book yet, but they have interacted with the princess so far, and they've had this really cool scene where you thought one thing was going to happen, but really it was like an attempted assassination, and it wasn't an assassination on the person you thought it was going to be. So that was a fun scene to read. But Nina is doing stuff. She's at Ice Palace, and she is trying to get information on this man who says that he is the actual king of Ravka, that he is actually blood descendant of the line, and that Nikolai is a bastard. So she needs to get information on him, and the only way she can get close to him is that if Hana, who is helping her and knows that she's a spy, does this like 6-week courtship where she goes into court and everyone looks at her and she dresses in pretty dresses and goes to balls and dances, and at the end a man is supposed to propose to her. Right? Well, first off, that's one of my favorite tropes ever, is peasant, poor person who doesn't belong in court goes to court and kind of like pretends at something, right? Like, something really twisty did happen at the end of her like first event in court, and I'm really excited to know more, because I think that her father is going to have a lot to do with the story in ways that I wasn't expecting it. But the number one thing I wanted to come and talk to you about with this book so far is, and this is gonna be slight spoilers for King of Scars, and then my predictions for the rest of this book. So if you don't want to know those, I can't tell you to turn away anymore, because I've already told you to turn away at this point. So, but just turn away if you don't want to know anything. So in King of Scars, there were lots and lots of hints that Hana and Nina were building a romantic relationship together. And Hana is a Freudian, so she is like very religious, very pure, very traditional, however you want to say it. Like, I don't have the right, conservative. She's very conservative, at least her family is, and she kind of is trying to escape that. So I was already kind of feeling some romantic vibes between her and Nina, and I was really excited to see that develop more in this book. But there was a comment that she made. There was one comment where she had to go into like confession, and when she came out, she was like, oh, I almost confessed something that would have been really bad for me to confess. And Nina was like, oh, what was that? And then she kind of changed the subject. So I was thinking it was like, oh, I have a crush on a woman and I'm not supposed to have that. But a few chapters later, Hana was talking to Nina, and she was talking about how she's never felt more at home in her skin except for when she's wearing pants and when she has her hair really short, and how when she was pretending to be a soldier, and in their land soldiers are only men, it's when she feels the most herself. And I'm starting to wonder now if instead of Hana being a lesbian, maybe she's trans, maybe she is a man, and she's felt pressured by her people this whole entire time to be forced into womanhood. I don't know. I wouldn't be mad either way that Leigh Bardugo goes with it. Like, maybe she's just saying that Hana as a woman felt most comfortable wearing pants because pants are hecka comfortable. I agree. And short hair is nice too. But also, like, I wouldn't be mad if she had a trans character. I'm at page 110 right now. I was really hoping to get to like 250 today, but I kind of knew that was an unrealistic expectation on myself. So it is 9 o'clock right now. I'm gonna attempt to make it to page 200, but I don't think that's gonna be possible. I'll probably make it past like 160, 175, and then probably be ready to fall asleep. Page 120. He's here. He's finally here. I knew this book was gonna do it. I was really, really scared that this book was gonna try to bring back Alina. It hasn't happened yet, but they're really hinting at it happening, and I'm just like, no. If you do that, I will slam you against the wall. I will do it. I don't care how pretty you are. Okay, I'm not done with my section for today, but I'm really close, so I'm gonna take a break and go get a shower. But yes, it is the next day, and I am officially on page 220. I don't know if I said last night, but I made it to page 160 before falling asleep, and my goal for today is to get to page 250. I am kind of hoping I can get a little bit past that just to help tomorrow, but if I can't, I'm totally understanding. So I'm actually really enjoying the book right now. I was a little bit nervous because there is, did I say? Yeah, I told you last night that Alina is back. Oh, I told you I was gonna throw the book if she came back. Hold on. I threw it. I know you can't see it, but I threw it. So she's back, and I was definitely disappointed. She's not my favorite, and I really don't like Mal, so having both of them back was kind of just like, eh. But where I'm at so far, they've only been in one chapter, and they weren't horrible. I think Leigh Bardugo has gotten a lot better as an author, just writing her characters, but also just from what I've read, I don't think they're going to be in the book as much as I'm thinking they're going to be in the book. So I really think they're going to be in that chapter, and then hopefully not too much more, but I don't know. By the time I finish my section for tonight, the book's over there, so I can't show you anymore. I will know better. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm finally at the point where all three perspectives, when I leave them, I'm like, dang, I really want to know more about what's going to happen in that part. Before, up until now, I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of want to know what's happening with Nina. I kind of want to know what's happening with Zoya. I kind of want to know what's happening with Nikolai. But now I'm like, yeah, I want to know what's happening with all of them. It's good. It's good. It's a good feeling to have. There's lots of exciting stuff happening that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to spoil things too much. But yeah, the Darkling's doing his thing. That was what I was not going to tell you. Hi. I am officially here in Rule of Wolves, which puts me at page 375. So I have just about 200 pages left in the book, and I am gonna make it to page 400 tonight before I fall asleep. I don't have any idea if I'll make it past that. What's been happening over the last 120 pages, because I haven't talked to you guys in a little bit, which literally is 24 hours. I've just been reading. I was really getting into the book last time I spoke to you, and I was really digging it. And then some things happened, and when I hit the part in the book where it like split into book 1 and book 2, so, you know, Leigh Bardugo always has kind of like a split in the middle of her books. I felt like after that I was faced with about 60 pages of just really boring stuff. Like, I didn't care about it and I didn't feel invested in it. But then after that, I was faced with about 40 to 50 pages of stuff I was really interested in and really digging, and I felt like I was just reading so fast and couldn't put the book down. I feel like a lot of this book, and maybe people will disagree, but whatever, is fan service. And I'm really starting to wonder after reading this how much of this book was necessary. I'm at the point now where some other characters from previous books have shown up. And I'm not going to spoil who, because I feel like it's far enough in the book that it is kind of a spoiler for people who haven't read it yet. But it just really, really, really feels like the GrishaVerse hasn't been improved because of Six of Crows and Rule of Wolves. Am I happy that they were written? Yeah, I love this world and I'm glad that I got more of it, but it kind of feels extraneous at this point, and I know that Leigh Bardugo is going to be writing more books in this universe, and I just can't help but wonder how necessary they are. Like, if she's coming back to this world, I almost want her to like forget everything about these characters and just go to a different place, a different time, leave them all behind. Like, I love so many of them, but she's not adding to them at this point. I do think that some of the characters are having growth, so I don't want to like ignore all of that. I think like Zoya, Nikolai, Nina are great characters. I wish we would focus really heavily on them instead of focus on all these other characters from other books coming in and kind of just like meeting together. I am really confused about how much she's going to try to shove into these last 200 pages, because where I am at, there needs to be a heist, there needs to be a giant battle scene, and there needs to be some kind of resolution in Nina's sections, and I have 200 pages left. And it's not like the book is continuing on. In the back it does say that King of Scars is a duology, so I know she's not making a third one in this series. But also that could be a lie, because Six of Crows was a duology, but now supposedly she's writing a third one in it. I don't want you to watch this clip and think that I'm disliking this book. I'm really enjoying it. I think that my enjoyment is higher for Rule of Wolves than it was for King of Scars, but I don't think this is as good of a book as King of Scars was. I think King of Scars was better written, better plotted, better thought out, whereas this one, once again, I'm gonna say it, really feels like fan service. Like, we're getting to see how our old friends are living their lives, how they're doing, and it's not so much about the main story of our three protagonists. I'm liking it. It definitely won't be below a 4-star unless something horrible happens at the end that I just think is a bad decision. But I don't know if I could ever give this a 5-star, just because of her decisions that she's made to bring back these characters. Especially with her decision to bring back Alina and Mal, even though they were really only there for 1 or 2 chapters. Like, 1 or 2 chapters, I feel like I would have been more okay with it if they had been here for more chapters, even though I would have grumbled and hated it. Having them here for 1 or 2 chapters just made it feel cheap. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm kind of sad now that I've said all of that out loud. None of those words made me happy to say out loud. I don't have a ton to say. I guess I could show you where I'm at. I'm not gonna be able to hold the book open right now, but look at that. I don't have a ton left, to be honest. The heist has happened. It was kind of a letdown. It was like 2 chapters. I don't want to say a letdown. It was a good, quick heist, but it was only 2 chapters, so like maybe 20 pages, and it wasn't the point of the book. Obviously the war building up to this battle at the end is the point of the book, but the heist was to get them something for the war. And because I love heists so much, and because they brought in these characters to help plan the heist, I was expecting a little bit more. But also this book is already so long that, like, if they had lengthened it out and added more to it, I understand that it would have been too much for this book. But then again, that's what makes it kind of feel like fan service, is having these characters come in for 20 pages to do like a really small heist to help get this one small thing that really doesn't make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. I'm enjoying it though. I think where I'm at right now, I'm leaning towards a 4.25, because I think that's kind of the rating I give books when I really, really enjoy them, to a 5-star level, but I don't think the writing or the execution is to a 5-star level. But I don't think that it's enough to drop it down to a 4-star. So we'll see how it continues to go. The final battle might change my mind. I mean, I have 130 pages left to try and convince me to do something. So I'm home now. I've been reading for about an hour. It is 9 o'clock at night and I have 70 pages left, and I am just here to say that that was really cool. That was really, really cool. I didn't fully expect it either, so I'm kind of like thrilled about that, because I feel like up until now I've been kind of expecting most of the things that are happening. But without spoiling anything, Zoya in the final battle, badass. She's wonderful, and I have such a vision in my head of the artwork for this. Like, I hope I can get it down on paper before I forget it or before I lose interest. You're probably going to be seeing a lot of Zoya art from me if you follow my Instagram in the future, because she's awesome and I love her. I'm really confused how everything's going to wrap up in the next 70 pages, because I feel like there's so many things that need to happen. The final battle still needs to wrap up where I'm at. We haven't finished it. And then there's, you know, the romance. There's 2 romances that need to kind of get resolved. And then there's the whole entire Darklings. Oh, I'm not saying his name in this video. There's the whole entire, like, the Starless Saints story that needs to get wrapped up. And I just... Oh, and there's also, like, the Suli government side that needs to get wrapped up. So I kind of feel like this book is going to end and it's going to be like, stay tuned for my next series where I go into details about some of these other things, and doesn't like wrap up all of it. But I kind of hope that she wraps it up, because while I love these characters, I really enjoy them, I really love hearing about them, I'm kind of ready for them to be done. And now we are back where we started. I kind of can't believe that I stayed up to finish this. It's 10:45. I haven't stayed up this late in a while, but I'm so glad I did, because that last section of the book was really good and really well done. And I still stand by a lot of what I said earlier about fan service and this book kind of leading into the next one. But I still really enjoyed it, and final decision is I'm going to rate it a 4.5. The ending was really good. I think it was my favorite part. I don't like battle scenes, but this battle scene was good and really exciting. And then pretty much everything after it was good. I felt like there was a lot of predictable stuff. The battle itself, there were some unpredictable things, and I really enjoyed those, and I think that's why I enjoyed the battle a little bit more than I normally do. But after it, there was a lot of predictable things. I don't think tons of people will be able to predict it. I think I'm someone who can predict things in books really well, and I also think that it didn't hurt that I have previously just now read all of her other books. I will also say, if you're still watching this and you don't want spoilers, this isn't really a spoiler, but the very last chapter of this book tells you what the plot of the new Six of Crows book is going to be. Like, it tells you, it leads up to the next one. So I kind of hope that she rebrands a little bit and decides to not call it Six of Crows, because Six of Crows is a duology, and I feel like it was a duology. It was finished, it was done, and this new thing, while it is going to be another heist book, it's not gonna be the same. I don't know. I'd love for her to call it like a new series is what I'm trying to say. And I guess that even though I just recently said I was kind of done with these characters and I was ready to move on, I think what she's leading into will be really exciting. I think it'll be good. I hope it'll be good. I have no clue when we'll see it, but I'm actually a little bit excited right now about continuing on to the next book. Do I sound tired? I sound tired. So let's do a brief recap for this whole entire video, and then I will go to bed. First off, I want to say thank you for sticking with me. This video I know is going to be a very long one, but I am really excited about it, and it's fun to do this. So let's start at the beginning of this video. First off, I reread Shadow and Bone. All these books are by Leigh Bardugo. The first time I read this book, I rated it 4.5 stars, and the second time, this time, I rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed the story. I felt like it held up really well in my opinion. It did have a lot of YA tropes and it fell into some problematic areas, but for the most part, it was an enjoyable read and it was very, very quick to get through. I then reread Six of Crows for the third time, and for the third time in a row, I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. I love this book. I love me a good heist. It's an enjoyable read. I love the found family, and I love love the twists and turns that this book has to offer. Next, I read Crooked Kingdom, which I did struggle with a little bit this time, and I do fully believe that it was because of the audiobook experience, and I don't think I would ever listen to this audiobook again. But for the third time, I did rate this book 5 out of 5 stars because I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt and saying that I love the book, I love the story, I love how it concludes, I like the twists and turns in here, and I love returning to these characters, but the narrators all drove me insane. Then I picked up King of Scars, and I read this for the second time, and both times I have rated it a 4.75 out of 5 stars. I think this is a really solid book. I think it's a really slow story. It deals with a lot of grief though, and it deals with a lot of the repercussions after a war and people trying to understand where they still stand. So I think that slowness is part of the story, but it also has a lot of good twists and turns, and I think that this one is really well written. I would actually say out of the two of these, I personally think King of Scars was better written, but I do like the character development that we faced in Rule of Wolves. Finally, let's talk about this bad boy for the final time in this video. I read Rule of Wolves for the first time, and I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I had a few issues with it, to be completely honest, as you've just now seen, but I still really enjoyed myself. I definitely think if I wasn't a fan of this Grisha universe, I wouldn't have rated this book so high, but also this book is obviously clearly written for fans of the GrishaVerse because you have to read so many other books before you can even get to this one and understand it. I really enjoyed it. There were some twists and turns. I felt like some of them were more predictable than others, but there were still some that got me. I felt like it was a really big book, and I feel like she wrapped up everything nicely while still allowing for some exciting future prospects to come out of it. I don't have the dust jacket on it. I gotta go find that. That is the video. That's it for today. That's all I've got to talk about. I want to thank you so much for watching. Once again, this is a long one, so if you made it this far, I really appreciate you. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I will talk to you all in the comments. Bye.